Okay, so we're in we've been working hard on the topic of Kibud Avayim, right? Let's talk a little bit now just to refresh ourselves quickly and dig deep back inside. But I want to first highlight one other point. What is the role of a father as a leader? When we talk about the role of a father as a leader, what is his role specifically? So let's just identify some of those points, because again, we're learning the halachot of Kibud Avayim both ways, both sides, right? What the child has to do and what the parent has to do. What's your name?
Richard Kobler.
Richard? Good to meet you. Welcome.
Same here.
Okay. So what is the responsibility of a father? Come on, Joe. Come on.
Swim.
Come on. Come on. What is the other responsibilities? What are the other responsibilities? Chinuch. Good. Excellent. So what does chinuch mean? What does chinuch mean?
Educate.
Huh?
Educate.
No, it doesn't mean educate. To guide. What does it really mean? The chanech means what? To nurture. So to nurture, right? So the responsibility of a father, a mother as well, but the father is to nurture, right? So what's the difference between nurturing and educating, or guiding and nurturing? What does nurture mean? It's a very difficult word. What does it mean?
Bring out the best in somebody.
Bringing out the best. So how do I do? So how do I get to that?
Through education.
Through education. So 1 second. Yeah.
Education is just
Thank you.
the blueprint. Here's the instructions. Nurture is to hold his hand and tell him how to do it, to guide him.
Okay. So what are we missing in that model?
You guide through to bring out what's naturally in that person.
So step one is I need to establish my family values, right? Eddie, if your children wake up in the middle of the night, right, and you shake them in the middle of the night, they need to be able to recite the 5, 6, 8 key things that your family stands for, right? What does the Hakim family stand for? I'm sorry? No. So this is core. They wake up in the middle of the night. What is the Dweck family that Mom and I are building? What do we stand for? And that's a very big deal. Now, we can't go to things like honesty, integrity, pashut. Everybody stands for those things. But if we wake up in the middle of the night, what do we stand for? Joe, you wake up your children in the middle of the night. What do Mom and I stand for?
Good question.
It's a great question, yeah?
It's a deep question.
It's the question. So the opportunity is, and the challenge is, the opportunity is to say, when husband and wife get together, right, and as they're continually building, right, and Hayom Harat Olam, today starts anew, right? What do we stand for as a family? It's the biggest question. But
Do you think that's ever happened?
I know that it's something that we've been very, very rigorous on in terms of my children. They know that there are certain things that my wife and I stand for, and that's what defines us as a family.
And that's something that you negotiated between the two of you?
That's something that she and I, that's our constitution. That's right. That's our constitution. That's our mission statement.
Like the crest.
Huh? That's the crest. Fantastic. That's the family crest. What does the family crest have in it? All the elements of what the family stands for. Now, what's the difference between a family that has it and a family who doesn't, David? What do you say? What's the difference?
I think it's a contradiction.
Which one?
A family that has it, there would be no contradiction, and you could have parents that are, excuse my language, crappy parents, and then you might not feel that way, and you may be different. So that's where the contradiction lies.
So if we don't articulate those values, we'll have contradictions. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Right. Very good. So clearly, so now you have everybody knows we keep Torah. Got it. Everybody knows this, that, that. Got it. We got all that. But Mom and I came together with shared values. We came together because of shared values, right? And we came together, and when we decided to build a family, it was to perpetuate those values, to propagate those values. So now we need to know what we're talking about here.
And it's not an attribute. You say not honesty, integrity.
It can't be. Excellent, Jaime. Why can't it be? It can't be honesty, integrity. It can't be.
Just the ingredients to carry out the mission statement. It's not the actual mission statement itself.
Beautiful. That's right. And by the way, so we all say that. And it's true. We all better be bound by that. I'm going to give you a few examples. What does our home stand for? What do you want your home to stand for? Now, don't give me the platitudes, right? Give me the hardcore. What does my home stand for? I.e., what am I looking to manifest in my home?
Hard work.
Okay, hard work, good. Hard work's good. In my home, what else? What else? What should my house represent? Huh? Good. What does that mean?
The holiness.
What does that mean?
The way we're separate from the rest.
Excellent. What does that mean? Beautiful. What does it mean? What does my home, when somebody walks into a home must have an identity. A home must be able to stand up and shout, these are the things that I'm positioned for. These are the things that have manifested in me since day one.
And that doesn't just happen organically.
No way.
You prefer not to happen.
It should not happen. It's not real enough. It's not cogent enough. So I'm going to give you some examples.
What Joe's saying is, do you discuss this with Joab?
That's what
Or
I'm
this
saying.
is you just did stuff?
No, you have to
came back
discuss it.
to do it.
You have to. It's both. It's both. Some of it you're going to discuss, right? Some of it you're going to discuss,
You're going along.
and some of it you're going to discuss as you're going along. But you're going to do both. So let's take an example. What does your home stand for?
My home stands.
Don't give me the generics. We come from a fabulous place. Good morning. We come from a fabulous community. Okay? Don't give me the generics. What does your home stand for, and how have you made it real in your home? Talk to me.
Chesed.
Okay, good. So my home stands for chesed. That's whatever number it is, right? Very good. So when my children, now grown children for many of us, right? When my grown children say, you know what? Mom and Dad staked out a position that said their home stands for chesed. And let me tell you all the chesed that went on in the house. Right? If my home stands for chesed, it has to be endemic. It has to be prevalent. Right? Means that sometimes our head is spinning because there's so much going on in that sense. Oh, there's a chesed event, and there's a person who came to ask a question, and you know what? Another group reached out to me for this, that, the other thing. So it's overt. It's constant. Otherwise, it's not serious. You with me, Joe?
I'm listening to you. I just.
You're saying you should have an ethical will that your family lives by. When someone leaves an ethical will, right, they tell their kids, this is the way I want you to live your life.
Excellent.
You're
Excellent.
saying to do it while you're alive, and this way, you can reach wherever you want to reach by following the blueprint.
Right. I have to know the blueprint. Yeah. Yeah.
Just want to, what if you have a family that's not religious,
Mm-hmm.
but they're kind people?
Good. Fine.
They teach good values, but they're not religious. What does that home stand for?
Okay, very good. So you tell me. Let's if let's say the family's growing and evolving, right, and not yet where they may end up religiously, right? They're growing and evolving. That doesn't mean that a home can't be a home of chesed. Doesn't mean that. A home can still be a home of chesed, right? And in fact, it might be interesting to say, right? What do we say? What's one of the great things about chesed? What is one of the great things about chesed?
For you.
Huh?
It's for you.
It's primarily for us, but what's one of the great things? If you're talking about what David's saying about building a home and building core values, what's one of the great things about chesed? Chesed brings Torah. Chesed brings Torah. It might take a year, it might take decades, but how did we build people back in the day? It was all about orienting them and nurturing them to be Ba'alei Chesed. That's where it all starts. It always starts there. So one of the things that we want to talk about is if we believe in Chesed, which we all do, we all believe in Chesed, right? And I might be building my family, and your family and my family, we all have different challenges in our family, right? God willing, right? We all do. But Chesed is always, I would say, I'm using always, it's a strong term to say, it's always the way to build. I always build with Chesed. It's a great way to teach core values. It's a great way to open people. So, if we're going to say that I ultimately want to get to a Torah family, right, for example, Chesed is a great place to start. Now, if that's true, then I have to put it before Al. I have to put it in action. When did my home last host a Chesed event? And why was it that event? And this is top line. It's top line. I know people who, to your point, who write a mission statement for the family, and they post it on the doors of the children's bedrooms, or they did. That's very nice. But it never lived in the living room. It never expressed itself in the living room. So what? So it didn't mean a lot. So if we want to build this beautiful matrix of kivud va'im, the father, the mother, have to come together and say, what do we care about? Okay, we care about chesed to the point that we're going to go and participate in everybody else's house. That's okay, but that's not what we're talking about here. What defines my home? We've had conversations with some people who are going through a difficult time financially, right? Somebody's going through a difficult time financially, and the question invariably comes up, should we sell our home? Nobody should have to be faced with that issue, but the question invariably comes up. I'll tell you a very quick story. In 2008, when the market collapsed, the subprime market collapsed. So I had left Conway in 2004. I was very involved in real estate. We saw it coming. We were a handful of months too late. And it was a disaster. We went from a very robust portfolio with a number of projects to lawsuits and all kinds of stuff like that. At the time, my father had just died and my mother was very sick. So I didn't know what to do. I had limited personal guarantees on some of the real estate. So I went to Moshe Faham, my son-in-law Moshe's grandfather, who was a Ben Torah, Talmid Chacham. He was in the Irgun or the Haganah when he was 11 years old. He had a bullet in his back, which I think stayed in his back forever. He was a fantastic person. We sat in this small dinette in his apartment on Ocean Parkway. And I said, Moshe, I'm going through hell. Lawsuits, this, that. One guy actually came over to me in court and told me, I'm going to chase you till your last day on earth. Really, I told him. I said, $14 trillion was erased from the world economy. You're going to chase me till my last day on earth? He said, absolutely. In the end, so I went to Moshe. I said, Moshe, listen, I have all this pressure, I have these lawsuits, I have these guarantees. What should I do? I think I'm going to sell my house. He said, you never sell a home. I said, Moshe, what are you talking about? I can't pay. He says, you never sell a home under pressure, ever. Told me, never. Okay, I walked out of his house, and that was what he told me, and that was what I was going to listen to. As it turns out, I made settlements with the banks, like everybody else on the planet. I made settlements with the banks. And when you make a settlement, it means, good morning, honey, it means you are not fully happy, and I'm not fully happy, but we're agreeing to settle, right? Very good. I went to the president of a bank 7 years later. I told him, let's call him Joe. I said, Joe, let's do some business. You know, where everybody's up and running, doing 5, 6, 7 years had passed. He said, not interested. What are you talking about? We had a 25-year relationship. I said, find another bank. I said, I don't get it. Didn't we settle? Didn't that mean we agreed that you weren't completely happy and I wasn't completely happy, but that's what a settlement means? He said, find another bank. Now imagine had I sold my home to pay more against the partial personal guarantee. What a disaster that would have been.
You would have gotten the same.
I would have gotten the same response. That's right. So, we never, ever, ever, ever sell a home under pressure. Ever. Never. You know what? Drag it out. Somebody told me once, we don't have debtor's prison anymore in this country. We don't have debtor's prison, right? Drag it out. Why? Because a home is not simply a castle. The home is the heartbeat of the family. And it must be the heartbeat of the family, right? But it's only the heartbeat of the family if it pulses with what the family stands for. What do we stand for? We stand for Torah in the house. We stand for Chesed in the house. We articulated that as one of our family mission statement points. It's got to be there. Anything short of that, you took a home which is meant to be a partner in building a family's destiny, and you turned it into a building. A building isn't a partner in building a destiny, but a home is. So in order to do that, we have to be overt and clear and frontal with ourselves and our children. What do we stand for? And it can't be passive. Cannot. It can't be lip service. So, if we've been talking for a couple of weeks now about Kibbut Av V'Em, and we've been going into the weeds in a very, very, very lumdish, very serious learning way. And it's been fabulous. Now what I want to do every so often is I want to go back to the other side. We expect the respect, we expect the awe, we expect the fear, we deserve it, we should have it, we should give it to our parents, all true. But what about our responsibilities? So responsibility number one, and for those of us who are married a year or 2 or 3, and those of us who are married decades, nothing changed. You sit with your wife and you say, we know what our family stands for. Obviously we do, right? We put it on a piece of paper, not generic, not universal, not catch-all terms, real things, drilled down. We believe in the state of Israel in this and that respect. Good. How are you living it? You know, one of the things that we also have to take note of, since October 7th, people have said, been a lot of talking, there's some action, but how many people changed? Honestly, how many people changed? Horrific massacre of men, women, and children. Horrific, mind-boggling. We can't fathom it. We can't fathom a mother being burnt alive with her baby. We can't fathom something like that. Broad daylight, right? So how many people changed? A lot of people talked, a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise. Said, how many people made their lives different? HaKadosh Baruch Hu was screaming and shouting, we need to build, we need to grow, we need to change. How many people changed? 1%? 10%? I don't know. How many of us were fabulous people? We're the best. How many of us changed as a result of the tragedy that the people with similar names to us experienced? We happened to be hanging out in a different part of town? Not too many. So, this all comes back to the same thing. What do I stand for? And if I want to demand the respect that a mom and dad halachically must get, I also have to earn it. Now, halachically, do they have to give it to me anyway? Of course they do. But how does the child really grow? When he does the mitzvah of kibud av va'em maximally, when he knows what daddy represents. And again, the good stuff, the generic stuff is not enough. And that's why that's why we don't sell a home. We're not like some constituencies in America where they move 6 times throughout their lives or something like that. We don't do that. Because the home for us is where we built our core values. They're in the walls. Yeah.
You're saying the generic things don't count, but that's the foundation. All those things are the foundation of a home and a family.
Good.
All the things that you're saying.
Good. So how is your family going to put the Shabbat stamp on this thing? How are you going to do that? How are you going to do it? We all stand for chesed. We all stand for Torah. We all stand for learning. We all stand.
By living it.
Huh?
By living it.
No, but it has to be specific. It has to be more. Okay, we believe in chesed. How often have we opened up our home for chesed? Yes or no? It's a very simple question.
What's our action plan?
What's the action plan? How much did I change? How much did I actualize? How much did I effectuate, right? We've talked about this, some of us, right? Of the davar shebelev, right? Is something in the heart or a mitzvah that's committed to or effectuated somehow in your heart. To what extent does that have value? That's a very big question. For the most part, it has very little value. Because if I didn't put it into practice, and I'll tell you something else. You can walk into a home and you know in a minute, I'll tell you in a minute, if a home is pulsating with overt, active values or not. Because some homes, they don't feel very cold. You know, they tell you if you're planning on selling a home, or they tell you bake some bread or something to fill the home with a warm, welcoming smell. Okay, that's cute. But from our perspective, you raise your antenna, all of you, on this. Start walking, not to judge people, God forbid, not to criticize people, to be sensitized by what we're talking about. And when you walk into a home that's a place of X values, it might be culture, it might be music, it might be whatever. It should be a handful of things. Now, I'm not saying, God forbid, that parents shirk their responsibilities or are not successful parents if they don't do this. But I am saying that the Kibud Av Va'em program, right? It's circular, right? It's circular. I technically don't have to earn the fact that my children have to respect me or be in awe of me. I don't have to earn that. But I don't want surface actions either. I want something that comes from a place of connectedness and values. And this is who we are. This is who we are. Creativity could be a core family value. Okay, let's hear about it. Let's propagate it. Let's promote it. You have a young family, right? Your home has to be filled. People got to be walking in and out of that door with the things that you and your wife believe in your life. And if they're not walking in and out of the door with it, it's cute, but it's not serious, right? Some of us, we're all at different stages, yeah.
Give a couple of examples of these manifests that you're saying that are not generic. Because to me,
Okay.
it goes back to...
What would you say? Good.
What if someone volunteers at a hospital?
Very good. Out of the house. Great. So now how do you bring it home? Beautiful example. How do you bring it home?
That falls under chesed.
How do you bring it home?
In the house.
Huh? How do you bring it home? How do you bring it home?
In your home.
In your home. We're going into Shabbat dinner, right? What do we do at the Shabbat dinner? We're talking about it, right? We're bragging about it. If someone did a candy striper, right? And I don't know if they still have the special candy striper, right? That should be seen. There should be pictures of that, right? Good. What else? You take what you do outside, you bring it in. Very important. We have a misnomer in Judaism where we say we're supposed to keep chesed quiet. I don't know what the source is, I've never seen it. I don't know where it came from, but this is the thing, anonymous. I don't know where it came from. I don't understand it. Certainly not what Harambam says. It's not the highest level. It's not. It's a different conversation. And in fact, one second, it's certainly not. And in fact, what people should be doing around their Shabbat table, to your point, if someone is candy striping, for example, or volunteering in a hospital,
Talk about the experience.
of course, thank you, honey. Of course, Abdul Hamid, thank you. I'm going to tell you another quick story. When my children were growing up, I was the torture chamber on this issue. What a surprise, right? I was the guy pushing this thing like crazy. So I would force my children, after I said and my wife said an outstanding act of kindness that we fulfilled that week, I would force my children to articulate one. Going around the table, you got to list one, right? So in the beginning, they'd say, oh, for example, I walked the old lady across the street. Okay, that's not an outstanding act of kindness. That is not an outstanding act of kindness. That's nice. Very good. Everybody has to do that. But give me something next. Give me something outstanding. Run it on the table. Give me something outstanding. The kids are struggling to find something. What happened over time? They have 7. They have 10. The kid, my daughter Gail, brought a child down from the 6th floor in her elementary school building, a handicapped child, a child who had broken his leg or something, brought the child down because the teacher forgot the kid when they set the fire drill thing going. Okay, why? Because her antenna is up. Another thing that I pushed very, very hard, and I'm just giving you examples of family values that need to be articulated over and over, is the concept of risk-taking and entrepreneurship and not being afraid. And what life means is ready, fire, aim. And you get ahead of yourself and you make mistakes. And let me tell you what we're doing, and let me tell you how we're a little bit outside of ourselves, and let me tell you how this is a core Torah value. Yeah? So now, Bli Ayin Hara, my kids are all, they have that orientation. For good and other, nothing's perfect. None of them are perfect. None of us are perfect. Tons of mistakes, right? But they understand that mom and dad believe in self-expression forever. How many times did I tell them the story? They can't hear it anymore. But you know what? I keep telling them that when my father died at 95, one of the rabbis, the most beautiful thing said about him, you remember him, Jaime, right? The beautiful thing said about him was that the most productive, effective years of his life as a community leader and a business person was from 67 to 94, and we never thought about it, and it was absolutely true. Now, in my home, when we grew up, we didn't know anything other than serving the community.
Did you have a mission statement?
My father was in our face with that thing. My father was in our face. And it didn't stop. He didn't stop. Daddy, what about work? I'll get to work. You know, his perspective was communicate, and he didn't stop. Don't expect, and give your life to the people. Don't expect anything back, son. Do you understand me? Give your life to the people. When we used to have meetings in the living room on our house on East 3rd Street, remember, Joe? Grew up together. On East 3rd Street, right? And the rabbis would be there. He used to tell me, come in the room, sit there, and keep your mouth closed. And the concept that these men spoke about, they were spectacular. The things that they saw, the vision that they had, it wasn't about the halakha of the moment. It was about a vision for the future. That's what it was about. So yes, Rabbi Jacob Kasten, the chief rabbi of the community, the Kabbalist, the halachic giant, would announce the Yom Kippur dance. That's right. Or the matzah ball dance. That's right. Because he had vision. He understood that to build, you don't demand perfection. You demand growth. And that's what a father has to do. Where do I want my family to be? What's the vision? What is my vision? After 120 years, what do I want my children to be hardwired to where they don't know any different? I don't know any different. This is what my father gave me to drink, and I drank it. And he didn't give it to me to drink once. He gave it to me to drink constantly. Constantly, constantly. So at 65, my mother walked into the SBH office for the first time. At 65, Mom, you did great. You did great. You don't need to walk into the SBH office and end up there 4 or 5 days a week. You did your thing, right? And that's when she championed it. This is what we need in word and in deed. In word and in deed. D-E-D, E-E-D, right? And we need to show it because we're all building beautiful families. We're all building beautiful families. We live in a phenomenal community. We have massive infrastructure to support. But what we may need to do more is, let me tell you what the Hakim family stands for. Let me tell you what we stand for.
But then they learn from action.
Huh? What's that?
If a guy comes to his door all the time, let's say, knocks on the door for tzedakah, and he reaches in his pocket without even saying nothing, gives him something, opens the door. He's not discussing it with his children on this, but his children will understand.
No, they won't.
A guy comes for tzedakah, reach in your pocket and give.
No, they won't. You tell them, if your perspective is that when a guy comes to the door, you give every person who comes to the door, then that's what you say. But you have to tell them that. It's not enough.
Just for them seeing it?
It's not enough.
That's a small thing. They know that he works hard all the time. He leaves early in the morning to go to work. The guy's up.
Tell me about it, Daddy. Daddy, tell me about it. We live in a world of gray. We live in a world of confusion. Tell me what you stand for. How many people do you know, honestly? Take a step or two back for a minute, right? I'm sorry, we're not in the text yet, but this is our, we'll get there. How many people do you know who have articulated clearly what they stand for? How many people do you know? That's the great tragedy of our time. And that's why people are frightened, and they're alone, and they're confused. I don't know what I am. Just tell me what I am. Oh, by the way, tell me what you are, and I'll make my decision on what I am. But you're my father. You and God and Mom gave me life, right?
The fact is, we've never seen or heard of anybody doing this. There's something wrong.
Well, what are you paying me for, Joe? What are we doing
I
here?
understand, but now how do you get that to the people now?
Now, when you're sitting around the table with, now you and your wife sit down and you say, you know what, honey?
At this stage, you won't
A
understand.
1,000,000%. No, it's more important than ever. We have to appreciate something. People don't know. They just don't know. They're good. Our children are good and they're great, but they don't know enough. The Shabbat family stands for X. Will you be perfect in this thing? Probably not. But will you fight your way back to it every time you slip? You better. And then you don't say it once, and you don't say it twice. You know, you're supposed to be l'shanot, right? To relearn something 101 times. And the rabbis ask, what? What's the difference between time 100 and 101? Everything. So if I'm the teacher of my children, I'm their primary teacher, not the rabbi in the classroom. I'm the primary teacher. So, yeah.
So, are you suggesting that when you sit around at the Shabbat table, you ask your family, what do we stand for?
Very nice. You know what?
Jack, what do you stand for? Jill, what do you stand for? David, what do you stand for?
You know what I would do? I would kind of go the other way, because if we haven't been in our children's face with this thing, it might create a little bit of tension.
Curveball, yeah.
A little tension. Start with telling them a couple of stories. You know what? When this happened, this is what we did. And you know what Daddy used to stand for, Grandpa used to stand for? And you know what great-grandma used to do? Let me tell you that story. You know what, Daddy? We heard it again. I know, I'm going to mention it again. Because chinuch, nurturing, means not to drop something on a kid or a person and walk away. To nurture.
Ease into it.
Huh?
Ease into it.
Ease into it and continue with it, and continue with it, and continue with it. This is the hardest job of parenting. Everything else is nowhere near this. It's the hardest job. What did grandma stand for? What did she stand for? What? My grandchildren don't know my mother. My mother was right below God to me. The greatest person ever in the world and the planet. When I got married, I stayed in my house for 5 months. I couldn't leave my mother. I was tethered to my mother. It's a true story. Right? This is the thing. Okay. Do my children remember her as well? My younger children don't. They only remember her later than when she wasn't well. Yeah?
You're shifting from what do you stand for to accomplishment. An accomplishment is much easier to explain.
Accomplishment, what do we accomplish? We accomplish in areas that we stand for, right?
Yeah, but you accomplish it. You may not be able to articulate what you stand for, but yet you go through life and you accomplish things. So you're going to back into what you stand for.
I don't think so. I hear the idea. I don't think so. I'm going to put my kohot, my efforts in something that I care about, and therefore I'm going to accomplish in that area.
People know what they stand for. Right?
That's exactly my point. So take a long walk, or 2, or 10, or 20, sorry honey, 1 second, and figure out what you stand for. And again, don't go with the generalities and the universals. We all stand for that.
That's the foundation. Those are the foundation.
Okay, but it's not enough.
So yeah, that's why I'm asking. Give me a couple of examples that fall outside of the generic.
Okay, good.
So that's what I would give an example. So something that sticks out of my mind now. My dad took us home early from school one day, and he said, "Okay, we're going courtside to the Knicks game." Where did we go? We ended up going to a soup kitchen. And he said, "You see how excited you were? Be as excited as you were for the Knicks game as you are for the soup kitchen right now."
That's great.
That's an example.
How did that work out for you?
Loved it. I will never forget it. I'll never forget it to this day.
This is what we're talking about. The father came up with a thing, kala hayat, take him to the soup kitchen. By the way,
The heading of chesed.
I know, but what did I do? How did I express it? What did I do? How did I make it real? Did I express it with a real case study, an example of what I did? Did I express it by taking the kids to a soup kitchen? What about the idea? What about this?
That's an accomplishment.
Okay, but I have to do it. I call up my grandkids on a Friday afternoon when they're off from school. Come, guys, we're going to go for a ride. I'm going to take you to 7-Eleven after, but in the meantime, we're going to go for a ride. What would happen? Izzy Levy and his children did these distributions in Asbury, right? They collected clothing for homeless people. And they did distributions in Asbury Park. Now, let me tell you something. I don't know how often I go to Asbury Park. Not too often, right? Not too often. Good. I was invited to come one day. It was a miserable location. A building that had been abandoned and was empty for years on a horrific corner in the not nice part of Asbury Park. They pulled up with a handful of cars, Izzy and his children and a few other people, and they brought suitcases of clothing, and they took their folding tables and they put the clothing or whatever else on the tables. And I came a few minutes as they were doing this thing. Very good. And there's no people. There's no people. All there are is empty buildings. I said, what the hell are we doing here? And by the way, it's scary. There's no people. Who knows what could go on here? Is there a police officer anywhere nearby? What do you do? Izzy, honey, what are we doing here? Right? Very good. Within a few minutes, people start to literally, I never imagined this in real time, come out of the woodwork. A guy drives up on a bike, miserable looking guy, Hazid, drives up on a bike with a lady on another bike, and they start to go and rummage through the stuff and put stuff on their back and the thing that they could take home. Another lady, we see, she just walks literally like out of the horizon, out of the background, the thing. And I'm watching this, and within 15 or 20 minutes, the place is full with incredibly poor people. And what do I hear Izzy telling his boys? Boys, make sure you keep eyes on the front of your head. Make sure you keep Izzy, honey, we're in, you know where we are? Boys, make sure you keep eyes on the front of your head so everybody knows what's going on here. Now, the reality is, that's something they'll never forget. That's the soup kitchen in the middle of the day. That's my core values. That means everything. That says things like, I had to get over certain things. I had to get over the fact that a homeless person is not somebody with problems. And then his 16-year-old son, Zach, wrote a book, Unhoused, which is a fabulous book, where he tells you stories of the homeless people that he went to interview. And you know what was fascinating to an egghead like me? You know what was fascinating? Many of those people were regular people with jobs, with an income, no mental illness, no drugs. God forbid, a spouse passed away. They were forced to retire. They can't get another job. They lose their house. They lose their apartment. They're on the street. This is a regular lady. She never touched anything inappropriate in her life. By the way, I finally saw that. Now, for me, this person shaped a core value for me. Now, these are the kinds of things we're talking about. They're overt. They're proactive. In his case, one of his core values was helping people beyond the Jewish community. In my case, as a student of that, I was in shock that I drove 10 minutes from my house. 10 minutes. And the level of poverty was shocking. I said, where the heck are we? Where are we? And I told my kids the story 20 times. And then I told them, the next time they have a distribution, I want you taking your stuff there. And here's the book, everybody read it. Because you know why? In the Cohen family, we care about everybody. We care about our own people first, of course, but we care about everybody. Got it? This is what we're talking about. That sounds like maybe an obvious story, right? It's kind of obvious, right? But we want to be looking for things that say what we talk about. Okay. Thoughts? Yeah.
I want to ask Rabbi Reuben Feinstein, how do I know what my mission is in life? I know, go to shul, pray, do mitzvot, work, all the basic stuff I said. He told me, he said, if a spy knew his exact mission, he wouldn't accomplish it. Mm-hmm. He said, he told me, what's your name? I told my name, Chaim. He tells me your name is 68, it's Lulav. There's 4 kinds of people in the world that you're supposed to bring back to Chaim. Like,
awesome.
I don't know what the 4 are.
Awesome.
But he gave me like a concept that I was able to implement in a few different ways. But
fabulous. And now
does it have to do with our name, with who?
It could. It could.
To name themselves, right? For Ham and Kol.
Well, it could. The name is very telling, and we know that the name is attached to the neshama, not by chance. Chaim will never be a David, for example, right? It'll never happen. Right. We, some of us learned about that, and that could be the way you figure it out. It could be based on your name, that's what your neshama is geared to do. And it could be what you really care about. And it could change.
Or both.
It could be both.
Right. What your name is and what you like.
Come on, Joey, I see. You're not with me. Come on.
I'm hearing you.
I know you're hearing me.
And I'm going to go home tonight, and after 50 some odd years of marriage.
That's right.
What's the side?
You're gonna sit today for a few minutes, and you're gonna say, you know what? My wife and I have stood for certain things. We've stood for many things. We were just not in anybody's face about them. And then you're going to sit at your table now and through the holidays and this, that. Say, you know what, kids? You know what, grandkids? Let me tell you what Mom and I believe. And let me tell you what we've built. And let me tell you why we feel it's important. And let me tell you why this is what we want you to be. That's what you're going to do. And you know who's going to perk up? Your children first. And they're going to say, you know what? I did see that in Mom. I did notice that about that.
That's
Otherwise,
nurturing.
what?
That's nurturing.
That's nurturing. It's exactly right. So if we want very much for our children to be the best people they could be, and that's why we're learning the halachot of Kibbud Avim. We're going to see it again in this week's parasha, right? In the Ten Commandments, right? We're going to see it again with a slightly nuanced way of framing it than it was the last time. And we say that this mitzvah, one of the few, as we know, is a mitzvah that's attached to a reward, and a present-day reward and an eternal reward, right? So it's fantastically important. The point of my son respecting me is not for me. I don't need his respect. I can take it or leave it. Good luck. The point of my son respecting me or me respecting daddy is so that he knows who he is, so that he's more complete, he's happier. People are unhappy when they're unidentified. It's a very important point. You can't be gray. Why are so many people in America in pain? We don't have any core values anymore. You used to have a politician or somebody stand up and say, these are my core values. These are my core values. A religious leader would stand up and say, these are my unequivocal principles. So if it's not going to happen on a national level, on a global level, it has to happen on the most local level. And you know what? They're going to be semi-listening and semi-not, but they will never forget it. Tell the same story 10 times. I'm going to tell you one other story. Very, very important. My mother, Lorena, when she was in her late 70s, began to get Alzheimer's. It was very, very, it's a horrible disease. I hope nobody ever experiences it. I hope nobody has. So what would happen? We would sit at the Friday night table. My father sat here, I sat here, and my mom sat here. And my mother would repeat the same story 10 times. The same story. And we were going crazy. How many times can you hear the same story? And my mother was beautiful, and she was still beautiful. Until she died, she was beautiful. So how could it be out of this beautiful, dynamic person, we were hearing the same silly story over and over and over at the Friday night table? What did my father do? He heard the story the first time. He said, that's a beautiful story, honey. 2 minutes later, she said it again. He said, wow, honey, what a nice story. That's really something. We thought my father was losing it, right? When he kept doing this. And then he would take her hand lovingly and he would repeat it again. Oh, how nice, honey. When did that happen? The first time I saw that, I looked at my father and said, oh my God, they're both suffering from this thing. Of course it wasn't true. He was teaching us a forever value. The value is that when you love a person and you've been blessed to be in a person's life, that love is unconditional, unequivocal, and that's it. Until this day, I will never, ever forget how my father looked at her with loving eyes the 10th time she told the story and took her hand and expressed his love for her when we around the table, us nothings, were judging her. And he made a very strong point. You never judge a person you love. Never. He made that point very clear. He said it in stronger terms than saying it by never judge. He made the point very clear. So I'm sure we all do these things. My point is we have to be much more in your face. And I'm telling you the difference between a young adult who knows what his core family values are and one who doesn't is a universe. It's a universe. What else? That was the introduction for today's class. All right, let's go. Yeah.
I think that these things do happen. Like the two stories you gave are fantastic and the message is in your face, but it's never said. Like, in this family we do X.
Okay, I'm saying it has to be said. It has to be said. I don't want it to be achayat. I gave you the stories as backfill. No, you're making an important point. I gave you the stories as backfill. I want it in your face, in your face, in your face. And it should be in action, right? It should be in action. We open our home to things. We open our home to things. Is there any reason why so-and-so should celebrate their event in my home? Every reason. Well, you barely know them. I know, but those are my core values. I don't know. I don't understand the question. What is the question? This person needs a facility to do X. I have the facility. I don't. What's the question? What are we talking about? So now the child knows that this is the way it works. And then I tell the story, and I tell it, and I tell it. Good? Yeah? Any other thoughts on this? Joe, what do you say? Hayom Harat Olam. It starts today. It starts today. It doesn't matter that you showed these values in a subtle way, in an indirect way until now. Now you're going to say them in a more direct way. And your children love and have massive respect for you. They're going to hear them. And the biggest beneficiary will be them. But we benefit as well when we've articulated our values. Crystal clear. Yeah. Identifying them as the issue. And now imagine if the parents don't identify them, what is the child? It's a very big deal, because having the general framework of Torah mitzvot is good, but it's not enough. There was a Moshe, there was an Aharon, there was Yoshua, there was a Kalev, there were all kinds of different people. Oh, can everybody be the same under the rubric of Torah? Of course not. Of course not, right? Yeah.
Do you run a P&L on your mission statement every quarter?
Absolutely. Say that again in different words. That's fabulous.
Do you set up actionable measuring,
Fantastic, absolutely.
that you're still on course?
Phenomenal. Now we do that in our businesses, right? Which at the end of the day means a lot, but nowhere near what this means, right? We do it in our businesses. We do postmortems, we do evaluations, we look at things, this, that. Am I looking at it in terms of my family values? I don't know. Am I building equity? Fantastic point. It's a fantastic point. It's great. It's a spectacular opportunity. And it doesn't matter when my mom walked into the thing at 65. 65. Okay, she didn't need to. She did. But that told us, nothing talking about. If you could walk in at 65, could I walk in at 25? Of course. Of course. There's a story that happened. I'll tell you one more, and then we'll wrap for today. Story that happened, fascinating. When I was just married, SBH had a little office in an apartment across the street from Sephardic Institute. One little office with one social worker. Wednesday mornings, I just started working, just got married, finished school. I used to go with that one social worker to visit people. One day we walk into a lady, Larlene, who was very, very sick. She had cancer, very sick. I went there to uplift her. And all I'm doing is crying, and she's giving me chizuk, right? Shows you how good I was at that thing, right? Very good. The whole time she's telling me, you look familiar. I was never here before. She says, you look familiar, you look familiar. After about a half hour, she calls her daughter out of the bedroom. Her daughter happened to be severely handicapped, legs and upper body. And she said, what's the name of that lady that comes 2 afternoons a week to take you for ice cream or help you do your homework? She said, Jerry Cohen. What are you talking about? That's why she kept telling me I look familiar. Because she sensed in me some likeness to my mother. And my mother was taking care of her paraplegic daughter twice a week. So the only thing I would have changed from what my mother did is tell us about it. But you know how many times I told my kids about it? A lot. And I'll never stop telling them about it. Because that's how we build. So, we know that the purpose of a mitzvah is to be better. The purpose of the mitzvah is not simply to serve God, although that would be enough of a purpose. The purpose of a mitzvah is to become better through that service. The mitzvah of kibbud av va'em is from the father to the child and the child to the father. That's where we started. We said that the mitzvah is incumbent on the parents as well to build their children so that their children value it, do it, and perpetuate it. And the goal of all of it is not for daddy to be serviced or for his needs or concerns or sensitivity to be addressed. That's all common sense. The goal of it is to build an excellent child, an aware, sensitive person. And to do that in this day and age, because we live with all the good things we live, because we have the infrastructure we have, we're not diligent enough in writing our crest, our mission statement. We're not, because we have all the good stuff. We think we don't have to do anything. It's all here. Not true. The Jamals and the Cohens and the Dwecks and the this and that should have something distinct, must have something distinct about each of them within the collective. And that's our opportunity. Good. Okay. Baruch Adonai L'olam ben v'amen. Shabbat shalom. Thank you, gentlemen.